Hello and welcome. My name is Lauren Harder and I am a senior educational developer for VEX Robotics. We have with us Dr. Arif Sirinterlikci here with us from Robert Morris University, and he is a manufacturing engineering professor at the university. And we're so glad to have him here. And we're going to talk a little bit about engineering for Engineering Week. Now, Dr. Arif, if I could start by asking I know that engineering is a very broad field. For someone that's not super familiar with manufacturing engineering, would you be able to shed a little bit of light on that for us?
Yes, manufacturing engineering it's different than traditional engineering fields. It's a cross-disciplinary field. You will see, material science and engineering knowledge being in it, industrial engineering knowledge, electrical and control engineering knowledge, and the business content. And then naturally, all of that leads to the manufacturing knowledge, body of knowledge.
Mm. Now, for someone that doesn't have a lot of experience in that, would you be able to give a couple examples of how someone may be able to see this in their everyday life?
Yes, I mean, manufacturing is about making things. It may not be well known, but modern manufacturing methods we use today or we used a few decades back, they existed in the ancient world. I mean, we had to make things, right, to survive, to have a better quality of life for many different reasons. So even the early humans were making things. Using stones and making axes and things like that. Homo habilis before other species were making things a long time ago. Naturally, manufacturing engineers deal with making things. Their responsibility may be product engineering, so they may help design consumer products or make them. They also design the processes and the tooling that are used in making those consumer products. Mm-hmm. This can include assembly and deal with systems as well. So they have to deal with complex systems. So that's where the industrial engineering knowledge comes into play, and they can optimize those systems. So manufacturing engineers, again, know some industrial engineering knowledge as well.
Awesome. Now, as far as how you kind of got to where you are today, what not got you into engineering, but how did you actually start with manufacturing? And was it something as a child that you liked, or how did you kind of get to this point?
Well, I studied mechanical engineering for about 9, maybe 10 years. As I was studying mechanical engineering, I started taking industrial and systems engineering courses, but they were actually manufacturing courses, like industrial automation or industrial robotics. And then I realized that I like it much more than the mechanical engineering courses. And I started doing projects. I started doing 3D printing. I started 3D printing in 1994. And that was one of the factors also. Since then, I've been 3D printing, but that was an interesting thing in my life. I 3D printed a whistle, for example, for a company in 1994. 3D printed a whistle from a CAD file. So we were doing a lot of interesting things, putting sensors into molds or parts using 3D printing, again, as we make the molds or the parts. So industrial robots, industrial controls, computer numerical control machines, CNC machines, 3D printing, 3D scanning, that type of thing, or digital manufacturing, I should say, as well as automation and robotics. Both subjects are very interesting to me.
Yeah, and I would say too, from speaking to you and then also some other engineers in the field, is sometimes you go and you study one field of engineering and that leads you kind of into another. So do you think that that's something that you've seen as well or for yourself? Because engineering is so broad, you know.
Engineering is broad. You can, if you have good fundamental knowledge of science and mathematics, naturally you'll be good for studying engineering. A field like manufacturing engineering is much more hands-on. So it requires interest in, running machines, learning software, and you can build confidence again in a different dimension in manufacturing engineering. That's what attracted me to manufacturing engineering. Now, in terms of switching fields, many more students study mechanical engineering, civil engineering, electrical and computer engineering, and much smaller numbers we see in our fields. So actually, it makes our students very valuable. Again, you could see them switching from mechanical to manufacturing, especially if they want to be hands-on, if they see the power of manufacturing. Like me, they can switch from mechanical to manufacturing, but occasionally students from manufacturing to mechanical as well, because they want to do more theoretical, analytical stuff, and maybe design machines, not consumer products. But we are also the professionals that put together all of those machines and generate those systems that make things happen. Building a car,
That's awesome. Now you mentioned 3D printing amongst some other things, but could you give maybe an example of one either project or something throughout your career that you found, very inspirational or that was one of your favorites?
Well, I was so happy when we built a 3D printer. I think it was 2012.
Okay.
And we demonstrated that 3D printer in the opening ceremony of America Makes. That's the federal government's first manufacturing innovation institute. It is physically located in Youngstown, Ohio. Again, we took 2 3D printers we built to this ceremony, and our students were so happy. And 3D printers were not as common then. Again, 2012, I believe, if I'm not wrong. And a lot of the media attention was, focused on our students and the 3D printers, and they could see the printers running there, as well as, all the participants, including even the politicians, were interested.
Yeah, I know that 3D printing now is, a lot more accessible than it was back then, but I think that's amazing. And the things that we can do now, I mean, I know that you have kind of expressed before some of the things that you can do in your facilities to actually 3D print different parts and be able to put things together. And I think that's really amazing. So what would you say for someone that wants to learn more about manufacturing or to get into this field, what would you suggest they start? Would they look something up? Would they, maybe get into, am I interested in engineering at all? What would you recommend for someone that wants to learn more about manufacturing?
Well, there are special programs in some of the high schools. They can talk to their, tech ed teachers or gifted teachers. There are a lot of, courses being offered, a lot of activities being done, and a lot of the learning can happen through, competitions. Bots IQ competition, for example. There's the VEX robot competition. I used to mentor high school teams for these competitions, and I think they are very beneficial for students to learn things by doing. So, but again, talking to the guidance counselor, talking to their gifted teachers, tech ed teachers, or engineering ed teachers, or checking summer programs, checking what summer programs are being offered at local colleges. I think they can use different means to get to these opportunities.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it has a lot to do with, like you said, finding these opportunities and being able to actually explore them. So I think the final thing that I would like to ask and for you to shed some light on is you mentioned things like robotics and kind of these different mediums that students can use to kind of get into the broader field of engineering and just kind of expose themselves. What are some different, I would say, maybe traits or skills that students could learn or that's really important to the field of not just engineering, but also manufacturing? And I know we mentioned robotics, so persistence for competitions, being able to try things over and over again. What would you say as far as some of those skills are?
Well, I think if, the CAD knowledge, computer-aided design knowledge is very important for any discipline in engineering. Computer-aided manufacturing, or CNCs, computer numerically controlled machines, CNC mills, lathes, and we see a lot of the folks coming from high schools, and they have some, background on this, on these type of things, both. And again, they can build, the design skills. That's a must for any engineer these days. And they can also learn how to make things from the, digital models. That includes also 3D printing. If they have background in computer-aided manufacturing, CNC programming and making parts with CNCs, they are kind of behaving like a manufacturing engineer.
Right.
Additional things involve use of controllers. In the case of like VEX robots or other robots, learning programming to have the robot do some tasks. And again, that's an important thing. Learning wiring, understanding sensors and actuators being, the servos, the motors that drive, as well as some maybe pneumatics and hydraulics. So I think a lot of opportunities available compared to a few decades ago. And just like you said, a lot of these things are accessible now, even with low costs.
Mhm.
For example, some of the projects we collaborate with VEX, we're trying to even make new robot types accessible. Some of the things that you may never see unless you became a manufacturing engineer, you may be able to experience those type of things now in high school.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's amazing. And like to your point, accessibility, getting these different kids exposed and kind of getting them interested and being able to say yes, if you're interested in this, you can go explore it and see if this is something that you want to do for your career. So
I agree. And I don't know if you still have time or not, but I would like to say one more thing.
absolutely.
Manufacturing is known as a, something that is from the past, or thing of the past. It's heavy, dirty environments, tough life, tough work, but it has a new phase as well. The robotics, the 3D printing, the CAM, CNCs, 3D scanning, Internet of Things. For example, you can put sensors into the industrial machines, and you can see their vitals from a continent away. I have seen examples of that. And we are designing and offering courses in these new fields, Internet of Things. It's similar to Internet of People. Now, everybody's somehow wired to the internet with those smart watches, with the smartphones or other smart devices, right?
Right.
Big data analytics. We need artificial intelligence and machine learning help or work in manufacturing to improve our manufacturing enterprises. Digital twins, for example. We are seeing digital twins of people. Even see them being hired as models by modeling agencies. But you can have digital twins of machines, and coupled with numerical analyses, collection of sensors, again, going back to big data again, we can improve our physical systems, and there is extended or mixed reality. We are also using AR and VR for industrial applications, and it has a great role or place in manufacturing. And again, at Robert Morris, we have recently designed 3 courses in Internet of Things, augmented reality, and virtual reality.
Wow, yeah, I know that we're hearing more of these, augmented reality and virtual reality and kind of being able to try some of these different things out, especially I know with the iPhone they released, you can actually see, augmented reality on your tables and IKEA furniture in your room and things like that. So people are becoming more aware of what these things are. And like you said, engineering is using a lot of these different new technology systems to just improve the field.
So we are using game engines, with other, software tools to make these things happen. And anywhere from a 3-dimensional catalog, like you mentioned, or safety analysis or hazard analysis. So there are many great opportunities for somebody who wants to study manufacturing. They can learn all of these new things: Internet of Things, machine learning, digital twins, or extended reality or mixed reality.
Yeah, absolutely. And I would highly suggest, anybody come talk to you, especially if they're interested in some of the different courses that you guys offer at Robert Morris, or some of the different activities and things that students will learn throughout these courses that can expose them to these different new technologies, as you mentioned. So.
And just like I said earlier, Lauren, there are only limited number of programs offering a manufacturing engineering degree.
Right.
The graduates of any manufacturing program will be so valuable. They can easily and quickly find jobs, work at some of the major companies, and earning, good incomes from the beginning, because only certain number of graduates, leaving these programs. And again, in the US, I believe we have only 19 programs, 19 accredited programs throughout the US. And Robert Morris is the only one in Pennsylvania.
Well, like you said, these skills are very valuable to learn and in the industry as well. So that's fantastic. Well, Arif, thank you so much for everything that we talked about today. And I know that people watching this and students watching this will get a little bit more light shed on what manufacturing engineering really is, and they can go and learn a little bit more about that. And again, thank you so much for your time. We really appreciate it.
Thank you. Thanks for the opportunity.
Absolutely.